Happy Pride Month, everybody. Now that we are in the month of June, it is time to close out May and reset so we can have another successful reading month. First thing on the agenda is going over my May TBR. It is now June when I'm filming this, so what's done is done. If it was read, it was read. If it isn't, the month's over, so let's get into it. I put 5 books on my May TBR. The first prompt was a book with more than 40 chapters, and I chose The Ground That Devours Us, and I did not read it. Didn't even get to the first page, just ran out of time this month. The second prompt was longest book on my TBR, and that was this behemoth, and I read about 50 pages. And just wasn't in the mood for fantasy, certainly not in the mood for over 800 pages of fantasy. So epic fail on prompt 2. The third prompt was most recent added to my TBR. And for that, I went with the Academy 5 by T.Z. Layton middle grade soccer series. Yes, I read this. Yes, I love this. Highly recommend, and I am continuing on with the series. Prompt number 4 was a book that fits the current season, and with that, I decided to go with Seasick, as this is a book that centers around people right after graduating high school, and I thought that was perfect for May, but this book was extremely far from perfect. I ended up finishing this, but I cannot recommend it. This book was absolutely horrible, and it was my worst read of the month. The 5th and final prompt on my May TBR was a book with flowers on the cover. For that, I chose Edenville by Sam Reveline. I ended up DNFing this book at 75%. Yeah, that's, you figure 75%, I could just push through. I even got a copy of the audiobook from my local library, and I still couldn't push through. I just did not enjoy this book. Again, even with the audiobook, I couldn't convince myself to finish the last 25%. So I successfully read 2 of the 5 books on my TBR. I DNF'd one at 75%, and I didn't even read the other 2. So we're going to call May an epic fail for the TBR. But fortunately, my reading month was not an epic fail overall. I had some really great books, some really great arcs, and I'm ready to go over those books with you. One of the books I read this month, if you saw my reading vlog, was Both Can Be True by Jessica Guerrieri, and absolutely love this book. Is a women's lit or general fiction, but yes, I highly recommend this book. This was a 5-star read. Another book I read this month was Better Than Fiction, and this is by Alexa Martin. This was a contemporary romance author and a bookstore owner, kind of not necessarily enemies to lovers, but butting head acquaintances to lovers. So this was really cute. Another book I read in the month of May was The Silent Patient, and I did not like this book. I read it and I finished it and I powered through it, but I did not like it. I didn't think the mental health or the mental health treatment team was portrayed in any sort of realistic semblance. I didn't find the twisting. I don't know. I had a whole discussion on my Instagram about this. I don't understand why this book got so much hype. I'm a huge Anne Hathaway fan. I think she is part of the movie adaptation for this, but I don't have any intentions of watching the movie because I didn't even enjoy reading the book. With the book being better than the movie 99% of the time, and not enjoying this book, I will not be watching the movie adaptation. Another book I read this month was Against All Odds. This was a legal thriller, Richard A. Danzig. This was okay. It was a 3-star for me. Nothing overly new and inventive, nothing terrible about the book by any means, just a average book. 2 other DNFs I had this month was A Week at the Shore, and this is by Barbara Delinsky. And this was a general fiction with a light mystery. It's a pretty thick book. I think it comes in Yeah, it comes in at nearly 400 pages, and I just couldn't get into it. I made it about 30% before I decided to DNF. I just wasn't interested. I just didn't care in the mystery. I didn't care in the family dynamics. I couldn't get into it. So I do believe it has potential if you can connect. I just was not able to connect. And another DNF was Mika in Real Life, and this is by Amico Jean. I found this at the dollar store. It was $1.50. So I figured, why not? Let's pick it up. Let's give it a try. It was part of the Good Morning of America book club. I'm not sure what year it was because I know this is not a brand new book. But another one where I just couldn't connect with the character, and I found myself not caring what happened. So I know I have plenty of other books to read, so I just decided to DNF. Some other books that I read this month, and I have my reading journal here so I can make sure I'm not skipping over anything. But I read Womb by Duncan Ralston. This is an extreme horror. My first time dabbling into extreme horror. I heard this book was really good, really strange, really dark. I figured I'd give it a try, and I did finish it. But wow, I can't even find words for what happened in that book. But while it was gross and disgusting and everything other word that you can use to describe it, it was written really well. And it was the way the story was told, you wanted to find out how it was going to end. It kept you, well, at least it kept me completely hooked. I wanted, while I was creeped out and disgusted and everything else, I couldn't not finish it. I wanted to find out how it was going to end. And that ending, that ending was disgusting. The ending was, oh God, I will never stop thinking about that ending, and that's not for lack of trying. But I feel as though my brain has been completely rearranged by what that author did in that ending, and I am forever changed. So, again, Womb, it was an extreme horror, so if you're into extreme horror, I highly recommend it. If you're not, know that you are in for some depravity that I didn't think people could dream up. So, take that reference with a grain of salt. So I also read Friend Group, and that was by Lisa Greenwald. That was a middle grade book about mean girls and trying to fit in and popularity. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. Again, that's middle grade, so it was really cute, heartwarming story. Another book I read was Hard to Love, and that's by Stacey Williams. It's a new book in her new series. All of the characters in the series have experienced some sort of trauma, and the series does not focus on the trauma. It focuses on the resiliency and strength of those victims and portrays their growth and development and everything else. I thought it was really, really well done, but please check your trigger warnings before reading this book. It is a fade to black, so no spice romance. She's the bodyguard for a professional football player that's been getting threats. And yeah, it was just, I really enjoyed that book. Another book I read was Arc, Paradise Pawn by Meg Richardson. This comes out in July, and I really like this book. It's about two girls who work in their dad's pawn shop. They need money so they can afford to both go to the same private school and come up with this crazy scheme that just gets completely out of hand. But yeah, a coming of age, a how far will you go for your friends, just a really good book. Like I said, comes out in July. I can highly recommend this one. Another book I read this month was Blood in the Snow, a true crime audiobook that I listened to, and a husband that murders his wife. Imagine that. He was a stay-at-home dad, and he was extremely jealous of his wife and her success, and just not a good guy, obviously. But I just found that the story was kind of boring at times, and I feel like I've read a lot of true crime that have just been done better. one of my favorite true crime books. If you guys are familiar with the Alex Murdaugh, the guy who allegedly killed his wife and son, and that whole family, that story is really crazy. But anyway, a true crime book pertaining to that case is called Devil at His Elbow. I can't remember the author. I will put a picture of the cover here. Really good. That was probably one of my favorite true crime books that I've ever read. It was done extremely well. So if you're interested in that case or a good true crime book, I highly recommend this. Another book. Oh, The Island Club. This was by Nicola Harrison. This was an ARC that I received through NetGalley, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely one I would recommend for summer reading. Obstetrics. That was the other book that I read through NetGalley, and this was Naomi Kritzer. This book was wild. It was so good until the very end. Have you ever read a thriller or anything like that where it just too conveniently wraps up and finishes with a perfect bow on top? That's how this book was. It was so good. Essentially, this women's doctor, meaning she performs abortion, she's OBGYN. She ends up performing an abortion and losing her job. And while she is looking for a new job, she finds an ad, or I don't know if she found it. Somehow she ends up going to an interview for a job for a OBGYN at a women's clinic. And when she goes to the interview, it's not really an interview. She is kidnapped. And she is kidnapped by a fundamentalist cult who is in need of a new OBGYN because their previous OBGYN is now dead because they killed her. They are in desperate need of an OBGYN for a high-risk pregnancy that is nearing the 3rd trimester. So they kidnap her, and she is now trying to find a way to help the women that are part of this cult, as well as save herself and get everyone out of there that she can while still staying alive. So really good. Just know that the ending may leave you a little disappointed, but it was still good. I still recommend it. I ended up rating it, I think, like 4.5 stars, something like that. I really enjoyed it. Another ARC I read this month was Pigeon Blood Red. This is Ed Duncan's book. I really liked it. Action-packed, suspense, thriller. I did a whole video on this book itself. Highly recommend it. It's book 1 in a trilogy, and the author so kindly sent me the next 2 books so I can read them. I am forever grateful to him because this is one of my new favorite books. Definitely one of my favorite reads of the month of May. 5 stars in case there was any question about that. And the last book that I read in May was The Other by Annie Neubauer. And she wrote the book, The Extra, about the people that go camping and then like a hiking camping trip, and everyone remembers there being an 11th person, but then they don't. And who was the 11th person? It had such potential, but I was disappointed. And it didn't live up to the excitement that I was expecting. So I took a chance. I saw it on NetGalley. I decided, hey, let's try book 2, an Outsider's Sequence. So it's important to know that these books are standalone. They take place in the same wilderness area, but you can read them in any order. They're not connected other than location where the book takes place. And this one follows a husband and wife as they decide to go camping, hiking, just a few days to get away from all the distractions, to decide if they want to stay married, and if they do stay married, if they want to start a family, or if they don't want to have children, or if they don't even want to be married anymore. So it's already stressful. It's a tough time. They go into the woods and they end up running into another couple, and that's all I'm going to tell you, because you don't need to know anything else, because anything else will spoil this book. It's a novella, so it's super short. So please, if this is something you're interested in, which I rated again 4.5 stars, go into it as soon as possible before you get spoiled for it, because it is so good. It lived up to the hype that I had for book one. And so I was very, very excited. Sorry about the sun keeps going in and out and behind the cloud. So if you see the lighting change, but really, really liked it. Definitely pick that one up. Those were the 16 books that I read and the TBR that just I failed completely at. Now it's time to talk about the books I bought in the month of May and the books that I will be unhauling now that May is over. I purchased 11 books and I received 6 physical art. The first arc I received was Pigeon Blood Red. This is by Ed Duncan. Then I received Woman Missing, and this is by A.B. Wellen. Immersions by Kyle McCarthy. Paradise Pawn by Meg Richardson. Notes from Planet Widow, and this is Gwen Suisse. And the last arc that I received is Poison Daughter, and this is by Sheila Masterson. Bunch of you have probably heard of this or read it when it was on KU. It is now being traditionally published, and this comes out on August 18th. So this one obviously has not published, and Paradise Pawn has not published. This publishes in July. All the other arcs I received are already available. Let's go over the 11 books that I added. First book was 70 times 7 by Alex Marr. This is a nonfiction. Tested, and this is by Anna Monders, a YA dystopian. The English Masterpiece, and this is by Catherine Ray. Ring Shout, and this is by P. Clark. The Drowning by J.P. Smith. Jeremy Bates, The No End House. Book 6 in the Academy series, the newest book. The Wildest Dreams Bookshop, and this is by Gracie Page. This is just a trophy copy. I've already read this. Absolutely loved it. 5-star YA romance. Wrecked by Brie Mina. This is book 1 in the Weston series, I believe it's called. And the last book that I purchased was Lisa Child's The House by the Cemetery. Those are the 11 books that I purchased. Now that we talked about the good stuff, let's talk about the bad stuff, the books that I'll be unhauling. If you didn't already know, due to my DNF at 75%, I will be unhauling Edenville. I will also be unhauling Seasick. This was absolutely terrible. I will be unhauling Mika in Real Life. I'll just get a copy of it from my library if I decide I do want to read it. I'll also be unhauling A Week at the Shore. Again, I just couldn't get into it. It's an older book. Same thing, get it from my library if I decide I want to pick it up again. Those are the 4 books I'll be unhauling. Just kidding, I found one more book. I totally will never read this book again. So I will also be unhauling my copy of The Silent Patient. In case anybody's curious, I unhaul all of my books to either friends or to my local library. My local library is extremely small, so they are forever grateful anytime I make a donation. I totally forgot to fill an outro, but I really want to thank you guys for coming along as I wrapped up May. I'm excited to start the month of June. If you haven't already, check out my video. I did a long form video as well as a short for my June TBR with the prompts I selected and the books that I chose. I look forward to see you guys in an upcoming reading vlog. Have a great reading month, everybody.